this sounds great. It sounds like exactly what I need, but let me go talk to my husband first and I'll get back to you. The dreaded spouse objection. Probably the most asked about objection I get on call reviews that I've been training teams over the past year. And I'll be frank with you, it is the most complicated objection because it's so nuanced. Every relationship is different. Every marriage is different due to religion, cultural values, where they are in society. However, I can still give you the exact frameworks and tools that I use to overcome this objection almost every single time. Now, here's what we need to realize very early on in the objection and decipher before we take a certain path. And that's there's two paths on every spouse objection on how to handle it, okay? Either one, they have the funds and they can do this on their own. And if so, we're gonna hard close them. It's more of like a permission, respect kind of thing. Or two, they don't have the funds and they actually do need their husband to actually play for and move for the funds. Now, if they actually give you a wife objection versus a husband objection, that's a completely different call, and we'll make that in a second part video. But for this video specifically, we'll handle the husband objection. It is the most difficult. We're gonna start off every single objection with the 3-question framework. Now, first question is, totally fine, I hear you. What do you think he'll say? Now, we're not gonna get what we need and pull out the credit card right off of this. However, it's gonna start giving us some context into how that husband's gonna react or think, but also most importantly, is she'll actually probably tell you her own real objection through him as a mask, and you can get to the real bottom root of it. The second question we're going to ask, totally fine, I'm curious, what happens if he says no? And if she's like, well, I'd probably just do this anyways, then we can know we can hard close this, right? Or she's like, well, I don't know, I guess we'd have to think about it. That's probably the answer you're gonna get. It's a bit more vague, but it's still worth asking, okay? But this third and final question of this 3-question framework is gonna allow you to know which path do you take. Hard close it or set up a strategic follow-up, and how you set that follow-up is very, very crucial to make sure they show. And now the third final part of that question we're gonna ask is totally hear you and understand. And just for my understanding, it's they're organized on my end. Is this because like you possibly need to help you out financially in that department? Or what's the real concern that you have? Now, how she answers this will be the deciding factor if we go the hard closing route or if we go the strategic follow-up route. And I gotta tell you, how we set the follow-up is crucial to make sure they show and don't ghost you, which we'll go into in a second at the very end of the call. But for this sake, let's say that she actually has the funds and I can show you how to hard close this right here, okay? Most of the answers you will hear around this department are gonna be like, yeah, like I have my own funds to be able to do something like this. However, it's just, I wanna make sure I run it by him. We run all decisions by each other. So it's gonna be a respect thing. Now, here's the thing that's really important. We are not going to agree with her. You would never agree with the prospect here. You just hear them out, right? So you don't validate, you understand. Big difference, okay? So she'll be like, yeah, like I just wanna run this by him. We run all decisions by ourselves. I don't wanna cause any friction in the marriage. Like, I totally hear you. No one wants to cause friction in marriage whatsoever. After all, we're not a divorce-making business. At the same time though, would you say he fully understands what it is you're going through? Yeah, he understands a little bit, but it's like he doesn't have full context. I'd be like, right, let me ask you this. Would you say that he fully understands, and let's say, for example, I'm dealing with like a fitness coaching offer, okay? But you can use this framework for basically anything. So I'm gonna say, would you say that he understands that you feel unconfident in your sexual bedroom life with him? That you're afraid to wear more revealing dresses around him because you feel like it doesn't fit you well and that you're not confident in those, that you don't have energy for him and the kids at the end of the day after work? Would you say he 100% fully understands how you feel and what you're going through? Now, obviously, the way I'm framing that is very important because I'm framing it in a way where she can't say yes. Because at the end of the day, no husband or no wife tells their partner, unless it's like an extremely, healthy relationship, depends on where your definition of healthy is in relationship dynamics. That's for another day. But in here, I can say the majority of people don't fully communicate on the deepest, darkest subconscious level how they feel to their partner, right? So I'm gonna use that to my advantage here. Now, what I'm gonna do next and what I'm gonna follow this up with is very important. And the way I wanna break it down to you is anytime you have an objection, what you're getting is a belief. So what I'm gonna do here now is change the definition of the belief. That belief being doing a decision without my husband is disrespectful. And here's how we change that. Like, right, I totally understand. And obviously it's not his place to fully understand exactly what you're going through, because at the end of the day, we all have our own problems, we all have our own demons, we all have our own struggles that we're going with, right? But in fact, wouldn't you say it's a bit unfair to put all that pressure on him for something that he, 1, you said he doesn't fully understand, for 2, he wasn't even on this call and had zero context whatsoever on what's going on here. And then 3, finally on the situation, he's not even able to ask questions being included. In fact, isn't that unfair to put all that pressure on someone else and expect them to make a decision for something that's really ultimately for you? So what you see I did there is I changed the belief of making a decision without my husband is disrespectful to, it's actually disrespectful to put all that pressure on someone to make a decision for me when they don't even know what I'm going through and they don't have any context on what their solution's about. See what I mean there? Now here's the thing with objections. You're not gonna do this and be like, oh, Temple, I didn't get the credit card, so you just didn't pull it out and give me the Amex. That's not how objections work. Objections work by slowly chipping away at it over and over and over again until you get to the core belief. And that's all we're doing here is chipping down so we can get to the core belief. And now that we've done this and changed the belief system of how she's thinking about this, we can now address the real objection at hand, which is actually, spoiler alert, not talking to her husband. So now we're gonna handle the real root of the objection, okay? And this is what I'm gonna ask her. So let me ask you this. 3 months from now, when you're feeling sexy, confident, charismatic, you have energy for yourself, him, and the kids, do you think he's gonna hate you seeing you like that? Yeah, he'd hate me seeing my best version of myself. No, he'd be thrilled, right? And how would you feel? Also amazing, right? So let me ask you this. If you know with 100% certainty, 3 months from now, that's exactly how you're gonna feel, what would be the reason from either of you not wanting to do this? And then what you'll get to this, because I notice how I said 100% certainty. She'll be like, well, yeah, if I knew like 100% certainty that it would be there, now we address the real objection, which is he never actually wanted to talk to the husband. It was a smokescreen all along for uncertainty and doubts that this would 100% work for her. You see, that's why most let me talk to the husband objections end up ghosting, especially for B2C. Because you think you're handling an objection, that's not the real objection, and then you hop off, and then obviously the real objection stole you the sale, and then you're just confused and hopping on one of my call reviews and saying, hey, I didn't close this deal, what happened? That's what happened. So that's how you handle that objection, right? If you remember at the very beginning of this video, what we talked about is that there's 2 paths to handle this objection. One is hard closing, one is setting a strategic follow-up. That was obviously the hard closing department. Now I'm gonna show you how to set a strategic follow-up. So when you go back to those 3 original questions, right, is what do you think he'll say about this? What happens if he says no? And then the financial question. If she answers back, yeah, you know, we do split all the same financial accounts, and like I would need his support and his permission to run a payment this big. That's normal. I just wanna throw that out there. I hear a lot of closers like, oh, that's a smokescreen. No, not everyone's well off like you, making $20,000, $30,000 a month. Some of these families are pulling in $3,000 collectively to spend $4,000, $5,000, $6,000 on a high ticket program. They gotta run that by their husband or their wife. That's just normal, right? So if we're in that spot, here's how we handle that. Because how, again, we set the follow-up as key, otherwise they will go ghost. So here's how I approach it. Totally understandable. I definitely don't want to make a decision that's gonna cause any strife in a relationship without him being present. However, before you hop off here, is it okay if I give you some coaching on how to speak to him? She'll obviously say yes, so I'm asking for permission, right? And then I'm gonna give her what she needs, because the biggest thing we wanna realize is if she doesn't know how to communicate to him, spoiler alert, most people actually don't know how to communicate to other people, especially their significant others. Then she's not getting the point across correctly, and he's gonna immediately shut it down, right? So we need to teach her how to communicate to men, because most women don't know how to communicate to men. Go figure. So here's how we're gonna do that. So like, okay, awesome. This is after she gave me permission, right? Then I'm gonna say, here's the thing. I've been on dozens of these calls and I've seen dozens of outcomes. And what most people do is they wait for their husband to get home. He's grumpy from work. The kids are screaming. There's a million things going on. And then he already has so much on his plate and you throw that one last needle in the haystack. You say, hey, talk to this random stranger online. He's gonna help me out with my fitness coaching. It's $6,000. What do you think? Can we do it? What do you think he's gonna say? No. So instead, here's how you should approach it. And what I've seen working with dozens and dozens of clients that have been in the situation and helping to get through it successfully. What you wanna do is he gets home from work, we'll say, hey, not right now, no rush, it's nothing urgent, but when you have some time later, 5-10 minutes a day, I like to talk to you if that's okay. He'll obviously say yes. You wait for a quiet time when there's no distractions with work, the kids are asleep, dinner's made, whatever it may be. And then what we do is we bring to him what's going on. And how we bring it to him is very important. What we're gonna say is this. Okay, so you know how I've been dealing with XYZ problem for the past XYZ years? Well, it's actually been really making me feel deep down, to be frank with you, XYZ way. And I've done my research over the past XYZ months, looking at X amount of programs and talking to X amount of trainers online, trying to find the best people possible. And out of all that research, I found this one person. His name is Temple Naylor, and he has the best case studies and track record in the space, exactly what I'm dealing with. Here's some of his videos. Show him the case studies, show him the testimonials, show him the social proof, right? Then you bring it back to you. And that said, I know you weren't on this call, and if you want to hop on this call and ask him some questions, he's definitely able to set that up. But really what I want to ask for you is your help in helping me feel my best version of myself so I can show up for myself in the most powerful way, but I can also be the best version of myself for you and the kids, which is what I really care about deep down. And then what are we doing there, right? One, we're addressing how he's gonna think, which is logic and reasoning. The number one he's gonna wanna think is this an emotional decision, or did she do her research? So I'm putting the research in there for her, right? The next thing that a husband's gonna think, okay, what is the legitimacy of this? So I'm showing all the social proof, right? And then lastly, it is what it is. Everyone is predominantly, a little bit selfish deep down. So we're tying it on, this is actually the best thing for him because he's gonna be the best version of his wife that's an absolute smoke show, confident, has energy, etc. What do you think he's gonna say to that? He's gonna love it, right? And then what I'll do is I'll bring all this to her. I'll say, and that's how you handle it. So let me ask you this. How are you gonna talk to him? Are you gonna go at him at the end of the day and throw down this random call being $6,000? Or are you gonna approach it this way? You obviously wanna get her commitment. She's like, I'm gonna approach it that way. I'm like, perfect. And here's the thing. I'm gonna use the same frame that I gave earlier about the changing the belief, if you remember that, right? I'm gonna say it's actually gonna be not that respectful to ask him to make a decision right there on the spot. So what I want you to do is bring it to him, have him bring his questions, and then we can just schedule out 10, 15 minutes later today or tomorrow, and we can power through those questions so that way he can make a decision that's actually informed and not speculation, which again, is not fair to him to do without that. What do you say? Okay, great. Does tomorrow or the next day work best? Okay, morning, afternoon, this time, and then you lock it in, right? And that's how you set a strategic follow-up. Now, what's really key, bonus round. After you do that, the objection is not done yet. Because if he does have some doubts, you're gonna find out about it through a canceled appointment or her texting you saying, hey, appreciate all your time. For now, it's not really the best thing. We got a bunch of other things going on right now. Can you circle back in the future? We've all gotten those texts, right? So what I'm gonna do is before the appointment, before she's reached out, I'm gonna text her and say, hey, how did your guys' chat go? What questions did he have? I'm just gonna text her that, right? And what that's gonna do is gonna allow her the opportunity to say no to me, and I have a chance to say the follow-up. Because if you don't do that, she's gonna text you like 10 minutes before the follow-up, then you try to call her, she doesn't pick up, and then it's completely gone, right? So I wanna do this the day before, and then what I'm gonna say is, that text, and then she'll answer, and if she says, right now it's probably not the best time, whatever objection she's basically saying no, this is how I save it. I say, no worries at all. Look, even if this is not a now thing for you, that's completely okay. That said, some thoughts popped up from our last call that I want you to walk away with that I know that would be absolutely critical for you to hit XYZ goal you talked to me about. Do you still want to hold on for 10 minutes to run you through that? And obviously, curiosity killed the cat. She's gonna want to hop on. And then from there, you can find a way to hard close her, whether it's on a greasy payment plan, a refundable close, possibly like in 30 days if she doesn't get the result she's looking for, something like that, right? You can get greasy with that and you have my permission too. And that's how you ultimately handle that objection, is you ask those 3 questions, you decipher if you're gonna hard close or go the strategic follow-up route, and then from there, you follow each path that I gave in this call, and you go get that sale for me. One last bonus I wanna leave you off with real quick. I have been in situations where strategically, she actually had to have the husband support her financially and get that permission, and the husband said no. That doesn't mean the deal is lost, okay? I've actually had the wife still hop on the call after I shot that text and did that, reframing framework. And she hopped on and I kind of made a joke out of it. But I did say, I was like, look, at the end of the day, this is not Afghanistan. You're allowed to have your own credit card. You're allowed to make your own financial decisions and you're allowed to do what's best for you. So even though he might not understand it now, and that's okay, he probably just doesn't understand it because he's not seeing the full picture that you're seeing. So why don't we do this? Let's figure out a way to get you started. And I promise you, the last thing he's gonna do is hate and find out once you've lost 30 pounds and you're feeling the best way possible that you spent $3,000 a couple months ago. I think we both agree to that. So what do you say about getting creative here? And then help her apply for a credit card, PayPal credit. There's a million things you can do. Sometimes I just have wives honestly just hide the money and set it on Zelle or Cash App, something like that. You just gotta get creative. So I hope this helped you out. I hope this helps you slay your next couple of objections with the husband objection. And if you want to hear part 2 on how we handle it, he says, I need to speak to my wife, which is an entirely different framework, drop part 2 down in the comments below and we'll handle it. Until then, keep being a sales weapon. Talk to you soon.
Foot on the devil's net for the law. I'm done tap dancing on tour. No more interviews with the falls. Y'all can't even keep score. I pissed on my Grammy.